All right, now let's talk about that big national news. Whether or not President Biden will stay in the race for president, as leaders in his own party, including Democratic members of Congress from the Northwest, are calling for him to get out. Within the last 70 minutes, the president finished up a live solo news conference following the NATO summit and was adamant about staying in the race. When asked about the calls for him to step aside and whether he had concerns about Vice President Kamala Harris's ability to beat Donald Trump, here's what he had to say.
Look, I wouldn't have picked Vice President Trump to be vice president because I think she was not qualified to be president. So let's start there. Number one, the fact is that the consideration is that I think I'm the most qualified person to run for president. I beat him once, and I will beat him again. Secondly, the idea, I served in the Senate a long time. The idea that senators and congressmen running for office worry about the ticket is not unusual. And I might add, there are at least 5 presidents running or incumbent presidents who had lower numbers than I have now.
He says there is still a long ways to go in this campaign, and he wants voters to ask themselves this.
Am I getting the job done? Am I getting the job done? Can you name me somebody who's got more major piece of legislation passed in 3.5 years? I created 2,000 jobs just last week. So if I slow down, I can't get the job done. That's a sign that I shouldn't be doing it. But there's no indication of that yet.
If you want to see the full press conference, including how President Biden answered questions about Russia and China, you can go to kgw.com. But the calls have been growing for the president to step aside and for the Democratic Party to pick a different nominee. One representative here in the Northwest wants him to go even further. Washington State Congresswoman Marie Gluesenkamp Perez gave KGW an exclusive statement today insinuating that Biden should resign. She told us in part, like most people I represent in Southwest Washington, I doubt the president's judgment about his health, his fitness to do the job, and whether he is the one making important decisions about our country rather than unelected advisors. And she continued, Americans deserve to feel their president is fit enough to do the job. The crisis of confidence in the president's leadership needs to come to an end. The president should do what he knows is right for the country and put the national interest first. Pretty bold. Representative Gluesenkamp Perez's comments come just a day after Oregon Representative Earl Blumenauer called for Biden to step aside in the campaign. He wrote, while this is a decision for the president and the first lady, I hope they will come to the conclusion that I and others have. President Biden should not be the Democratic presidential nominee. It is a painful and difficult conclusion, but there is no question in my mind that we will be better served if the president steps aside as the Democratic nominee and manages a transition under his terms. We reached out to other Democratic members of Congress. Most of them dodged our questions and did not get back to us, even though several members of our newsroom have made multiple requests over the past few days. That includes Oregon Reps Andrea Salinas and Val Hoyle. Washington Senator Maria Cantwell released a wishy-washy statement on Monday that said Biden would need to be more forceful and energetic on the campaign trail to convince voters that he's up to the task. Washington Senator Maria Cantwell's office has sent out 4 unrelated press releases yesterday and today, so we know they can, but they're saying nothing about Biden so far. Our 2 Democratic Oregon senators did respond, and they were a lot less direct than Blumenauer or Perez. Senator Jeff Merkley is sitting on the fence. He wrote, the question of whether Biden will be the Democratic nominee rests in Biden's hands and his alone. But serious concerns have been raised that merit serious consideration. He either has to demonstrate his ability to lead the ticket by engaging with voters in unscripted settings and laying out a powerful agenda, or he needs to step down and facilitate a transition to sustain the values and programs he's championed. Senator Ron Wyden, even less clear about where he stands, writing, President Biden said he had a bad night, but I'm proud of the results that Democrats and I have delivered with him the last 4 years here in Oregon and nationwide. Voters in our state and America fired Donald Trump with cause in 2020, and they're not going to rehire him in 2024. And one more statement that we got from an Oregon representative, Suzanne Bonamici. She also focused on the former president, not Biden, writing, Defeating Donald Trump remains my top priority. I am currently speaking with constituents and colleagues to identify the best path forward so that we can stop the dangerous Project 2025 agenda and keep building on the many successes of the Biden administration. So a whole lot of nothing from those folks. We also repeatedly tried to get a statement from Democrat Janelle Bynum, who's running against freshman GOP Congresswoman Lori Chavez DeRemer in Oregon's 5th congressional district. And as of right now on this Thursday night, we have not heard back from her either. Now, let's get to some of your thoughts on whether or not President Biden should stay in the race or drop out and let another Democrat duel with the former President Trump. We, by the way, were overwhelmed and overjoyed with your responses last night and this morning. Dozens of you wrote to us. Thank you. And also left us voicemails. Thank you for those as well. And left comments on our YouTube channel. Here's how your opinions boiled down. Again, and these are from before today's press conference. We counted all the stay and go responses, and you can see that around 2/3 of you think it is time for the president to get out of the race. But there are plenty of you who disagree and think Biden is the man and Democrats should stick with moving forward. Now, let's start with the majority side, who think it's Biden's time to get out of the race.
Calling about Joe Biden, whom I love and whom I've supported for all the years that he's been in office. But it's time for him to go. It's really sad, but he needs to say bye-bye.
Thanks for that, Ann. And Corbett wrote to us to say, yes, I support Congressman Blumenauer's call for President Biden to leave the race. I am a lifelong Democrat, and I think it's imperative that we defeat Trump this year. I don't think Biden can do that.
I am calling to say yes. Unfortunately, I do think Joe Biden needs to graciously step down. I am 60-plus years old, never voted for anyone but a Democratic president. And Joe just doesn't look fit to serve for the next 4 years.
All right. Thank you, Peggy. And how about this email? Aging only goes one way. The past year has shown that President Biden has experienced a rapid decline. If he were to win, it's clear he could not be capable of carrying out his duties. No amount of him shouting from a teleprompter will change this.
I definitely do not think Biden should be the Democratic nominee. If he is, I have no one to vote for, and I have to write in Mickey Mouse or whatever to vote for that election, because I definitely will not vote for Trump. But Biden is just not capable of running the country any longer.
President Biden should step aside. He's done a wonderful job. He's a good man. He's an honest man. But it's time to open up the door and let the new candidates in.
Thank you, Dennis. And we'll end the Biden should drop out point of view with this note from a viewer who signed K2. With apologies to Kenny Rogers, you gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know not to run. Very well done. Now let's hear from the other side. Many of you adamant that President Biden should stay in the race.
I fully stand behind President Biden because I don't think that one 90-minute debate should disqualify him from being the president. He was voted on unanimously in multiple primaries by millions of people who obviously had confidence in him. And I think that those voters should still matter and that he should continue to go on.
All right. Thank you, Julie. Stephen agreed, writing, our primary votes should not be overturned by anyone, including our elected officials.
I do believe that President Biden needs to run for president again. I think he's done a good job. And just because he had a bad day and he was tired, it doesn't matter. He's still going to hang in there and he's going to do us all proud.
And Ed wrote in to us to say Biden is old, maybe too old in a perfect world, but he is the Democratic nominee, and unless he and his handlers decide otherwise, it is crazy to suggest that some mystery young Democrat who has not won a national election has a better chance to beat Trump. I'm saddened that our party exhibits such lack of loyalty.
I am going to be voting for Biden no matter what, and so I think it's too bad that some of our Congress people here in the state have gone against him, and it's only going to make this a more chaotic campaign.
Thank you for that, Sarah. Debbie chimed in to say the media and all the fire fanners who jump on the sensationalist trains are completely overlooking the accomplishments of Biden's presidency, his lifelong commitment to public service, his respected position as a calm, steady world leader over a lifetime, all over one televised event when he was not well. Biden should absolutely be the Democratic nominee this time around. We don't have time to feature all of your responses. It was, as we said, overwhelming. But thanks again for sharing your thoughts with us. We know our viewers are a unique audience. You are highly educated, fully engaged folks, people who really vote very often and care about politics. So it's nice to get a regional temperature on this issue, and we'll be certain to stay on top of it as we get closer to November.